All right, everybody. I think we are live. I'm going over to the chat right now. Danielle, can you let us know? Well, there's going to be a delay, so that's just the nature of live streaming. But Danielle, can you let us know if you can see and hear us? Okay. And we'll start off that way. And panel, Tiger King panel, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
So happy to have you.
I had nowhere else to go.
Well, we're just getting started here. We're going to let people kind of trickle into the stream. Tiffany, thank you so much. Tiffany is able to hear us. Wonderful. Everybody looks sexy. Thank you, Danielle. We appreciate that.
Cool.
Okay. Well, since this thing is live and going, I'm just going to go through introductions really fast. My name is Foster, and I really enjoyed watching Tiger King. I thought it was equal parts entertaining and horrifying. And I think we're going to get some really interesting perspectives. We'll get some information from our panel. Please note that we are comedians here. And yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Way to set us up, buddy.
Well, here's what I want to say is, of course, like docuseries, they are based in fact for the most part, but they do tell a story. And of course, there were things I think that were left on the cutting room floor. I certainly haven't done research on my part to educate myself. So we're just going based on the docuseries. And don't expect us to solve any mysteries tonight, because there are certainly some mysteries in the docuseries. Okay, great. Have I made that awkward enough? Wonderful. Well, let's meet our panel. And panel, before I introduce you, you're going to introduce yourselves. But as you do, you're going to tell us, what would you name your tiger?
Ooh.
That is my question to you. So we are going to start with Jimmy. And Jimmy, I'm going to say hi to you. You're going to talk about yourself. Go say that again.
Hi there, you cool cat and kitten. How are you?
Oh, and then you're going to talk for a little bit.
Oh,
then,
okay. I can do that. What would I name my tiger? Well, first of all, my name's Jimmy. I do have 3 cats of normal size. I guess if I had a tiger, I would probably name it after. I feel like I would name it Blanche Devereaux because she's got the personality of a tiger.
Wonderful. All right, Jimmy, throw it over to somebody else.
All right, I'll throw it over to Brandon Durkees, my main squeeze.
Wow. Thank you so much, Jimmy. Hi, I'm Brandon Durkees, as I said. God, naming a tiger. I like to name animals like people names. Like I have a cat, Eric, who you can see the bottom of right over there. So I think I'd want to name it like Richard.
All right, wonderful. Okay, and then who do you think should talk about their tiger?
Let's go to David.
All right, David Martinez.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm David. I would probably name. I'm kind of like Brandon. I usually get a big kick out of naming pets people names, like Kevin. But I think
my dad's name.
But if it was my own pet, I probably wouldn't do that. I enjoy laughing at other people naming their pets that. So mine would probably be something like oh gosh, I don't know, Anubis or something. No, Anubis is a dog. I'd probably name it Anubis anyway.
All right, and David, throw it to one of our other panelists.
Yeah, let's go to Paige.
Hey, Paige here. I have 2 cats of my own. If I were to name a tiger, I would probably name it Shia LaPuff. Shia LaPoof? Shia LaPoof. There it is.
Awesome, fantastic.
And I really enjoyed Tiger King. Jamie?
Oh, yeah. All right. You guys probably remember the Brady Bunch. It's a classic show. Well, their dog was named Tiger. So in homage to that, I would name my tiger dog.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you, panel. That's our panel for this discussion. I want to start off with, you know what? We just talked to Jamie, but we're going to talk to Jamie just for a second more.
Welcome back.
Jamie, I got to know. You told me this and hopefully it's okay for me to put you on the spot here. You have a special connection to Tiger King, or you know of somebody who has a connection.
Yeah, I am 1 degree away from Joe Exotic, and it's my college roommate, a guy named Brandon Wall. And I remember one time he came home at like 2 a.m. He'd hit a deer on the way home after working a show for Joe Exotic as a stagehand. And he came in, and like he's just supposed to be like a guy that's going to move some set pieces around, and then suddenly he gets roped into actually being part of the show. And he's like working directly with these big cats. And he said it was like the weirdest experience of his life. And I think that is why he was in such a daze and he hit a deer on the way home.
Okay. Wow. Excellent. Awesome. I'm just going to come to the whole panel here. And what was, and we'll open it up for some of your comments and your thoughts, of course. And if you're in the chat, you put a question in there. We may or may not get to it. We'll do the best we can. But I kind of want to know just what everyone's general watching experience was. Very quickly for myself, I had to watch it in chunks because while I desperately wanted to know what happened next, I also was very stressed out watching the show. So what was kind of like, sorry, I meant this view. What was kind of the panel's experience watching the show?
Well, I watched the first episode.
I watched all of it in an afternoon.
All of it?
Go ahead, Jimmy.
No. I want to
all of it.
Binge all the way through it.
You watched? Wait, all?
Oh, I had nothing. I did all of it in a day. Our good friend Bobby Miller Jr. Wouldn't stop talking about it. So, it was like a Sunday, and I just sat down and put it on. And I watched all of it. I couldn't stop. It was crack cocaine. It was
absolutely
gripping. I felt so many emotions. I love their storytelling. Where at the end of each episode, they do like the cliffhanger thing. Like end of episode 2. Well, you find out that she's a murderer, and you're like, I can't fucking stop now. I got to keep going. That's what I did for a day.
Okay. Anybody else have an interesting viewing experience?
Well, I went like balls deep, and then I had to take a break because it just became so overwhelming. And then I got invited to this panel, and I finished it.
Okay.
You felt an obligation.
I did, but I was happy to finish it. I mean, I think it was all worth it for James on the jet ski. Sorry, a spoiler.
No, they know that there's spoilers involved. We're definitely going to hit some spoiler territory. Awesome. So I guess I'll just kind of, I have some topics that I thought would be interesting to talk about that I imagine we would hit anyway, but I'll open it up to you all, and of course to the chat. By the way, Danielle, Jimmy, Blanche Devereaux is a great name for a tiger.
Thank you.
So you get
Thank
that.
you.
She wore a lot of tiger prints, didn't she?
She just had like the whole costumery was very animalist, I guess. And if her bedroom was very like tropical themed and stuff like that. And fun fact about that actress, Rue McClanahan had it written in her contract. She got to keep her entire costume after the show was done. So she kept all of those outfits.
Damn.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's some trivia for you. Let's start off with a question from the chat, and then I will come to you, panel. Danielle asks, that might be hard to read, but would you rather have Joe Exotic, Doc Antle, or Carol Baskin pet sit for you? Specifically, they would come stay at your house and be amongst your things and care for your beloved pet.
I have a clarification question. Would you be there with them, or they're pet sitting for you because you're presumably not there?
I may have to answer for this because since there's going to be a lag
is this really what made the panel speechless? This question, out of all we have to talk about.
Well, like the reality of this question is no matter which one pet sits for you, one of them's whoever it is, they're gonna have weird sex in your house. So the real question is, which one would you rather have having their weird sex in your house?
I think I'd go with Doc of all of them. Who said Carol Baskin?
Yeah, I did.
I say Carol as well.
I would choose Carol too.
Yeah,
Wow.
There would at least be the smell of sage in your house after she's done. So
Mhm.
Right?
All
That
right.
sounds terrible. That
I
sounds
would hope-
awful.
I would hope that she would leave behind her flower crown so that I could then wear it.
Yes.
it's like inheriting the kingdom. You put on the flower crown and you're the next Carol Baskin.
I remember when I lost my flower crown.
All right. On that note, what panel? I'm going to open it up to you really fast. Are there anything that you're dying to talk about? Again, I have kind of some of the main topics that we can cover here, but I certainly want to hear from you and see what's kind of on your mind and what you're kind of dying to talk about. So,
at some point, I want to discuss the fact that he won 19% of the vote in his gubernatorial campaign.
Let's talk about it right now.
I mean,
okay.
I know people will vote how they vote because, well, here we are in 2020. That's very evident. But my God, I mean, you think
the line. I love just his entire political career is amazing. But like when they went to it was like outside of a Walmart, just all of the people just talking about him. It's like, well, he's a little eccentric, but I think he can get things done. It's like, on what basis? On what basis?
He wears
I mean, if you're blue, no matter who.
All right. Sorry, just for the people,
and
just for the just for the people who are just tuning in, just want to let them know the topic. And please post your comments. We may not get to them. Speaking of comments, my brother says, I think this is an answer for the pet sitting. Doc, for sure, he had the best looking harem.
I agree with that.
And that's true. That's true.
But if you're not there, you're not going to see them.
I mean, sure, if you're into teeth.
Except a little camera.
Okay, so who else has got something kind of on their mind? And then I'm going to bring in a topic here.
I love the bit about Joe learning SEO. I just think it was really funny that he just suddenly got very excited about SEO.
This is so,
and I loved it.
If I'm not mistaken, this is when this is where you start the whole trademark storyline, where he takes over, where he basically changes his name to what? Big Cat Entertainment.
Big Cat Rescue Entertainment.
Big Cat Rescue Entertainment. To hopefully dethrone Carol's preservation from being like the first hit on Google. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We'll discuss. This is the topic.
It's beautiful because but it's like I would never expect a guy who it's like know what SEO is. So like, how did he find out about it? Who told him? Got drunk and it to him.
I think I wonder if it came from his campaign
There's
manager.
Not an answer. I get it.
And by the way, I'm looking over at the list. I basically typed up everybody's name so I could keep track. That would be Joshua Dial was the campaign manager, who it's so amazing. He worked the ammo counter, the gun counter at Walmart, and then I think Joe just saw him enough times since he bought ammo all the time that he decided he would make a good campaign manager. Is that my understanding?
I didn't know that.
I think that it's like what you were talking about there, Foster. He went there so many times and he saw this guy who was buying his ammo from him. They had to start talking about the fact that he wanted to be a campaign manager. But that was.
Go ahead.
Oh, nope. You've got the cam.
Oh, okay. I will say, I also read that he went up to Joe and said that he was gay and that he admired him being an openly gay man in this small town, small community. So I think that was like where the connection maybe started. Yeah.
All right. Lawrence March says, lover or hater, Carol is a social media badass.
Yeah, they discussed that from early on, that I think that Joe was angry at how good Big Cat Rescue was at like running their website and running social media, and just all the elements of her business. Like that was a clear point of aggravation from the beginning.
Yeah, she definitely was on top of the social media game. And it looked like Doc Antle was also very much hitting that area as well with the...
Doc Antle has like... He's got like he did the snake for Britney Spears at the VMAs. That was his snake. He's been doing that stuff for
Oh, okay. I saw
like
those
any
headlines
Hollywood
everywhere.
movie. Any Hollywood movie that you have seen, like over the past 25 years, those are Doc Antle's animals.
That's crazy. I knew that from the docuseries that he did work on film sets a lot. I did not realize to that extent. That is crazy.
Yeah. I was on BuzzFeed today. They're going to get like a Pulitzer from this pandemic.
BuzzFeed?
Yeah. They're keeping us entertained, y'all.
Panel, I am putting forth, let me check the chat here really fast. Nope. Here we go. Here is my question to you. I'm interested in character portrayals, specifically if we felt like through the storytelling of the docuseries, if certain people were maybe more highlighted as heroes or villains. Did we feel like there was a slant in the kind of the portrayals of these people? I think that's something that's been discussed a lot. Is a lot of people felt like Carol was kind of villainized, or they leaned in heavily into casting suspicion on her and her missing husband.
I think Carol, like, she said that she was told that they were doing a Blackfish style documentary. And if that's what she thought, then why did she sit around talking so much about the death of her husband and her battles with Joe? Like, there were a lot of specific things that she talked about. At some point, she knew something was different in the narrative. So that makes me wonder, like, what she was initially told. That's the story that I'd like to see. My girlfriend Jessica actually mentioned it, that, like, they said that they were trying to do a different story, and then this other story kind of fell into their lap. I want to hear from them exactly what they initially thought they were covering.
Well, I would say it's just, I mean, are you talking in terms of like Carol Baskin, or just like
Carol Baskin, but then the whole thing, yeah, because it doesn't seem like they were focused on the abuse, even with the early footage. It seemed like they were focused on the sensationalism of these people.
Well, and we could assume that they.
I mean, imagine you're on a documentary crew.
I'm sorry, Brandon. David's on the cam.
I was gonna say we can assume they were just collecting.
I will talk over his entire thing.
Let's see. I think I can mute your mic.
Ooh.
I'm just kidding. Oh, I think I did it. Okay, go, David. Sorry.
No, I'll make it short so Brandon can make his very important point. But I just wanted to say, we can assume that they set out to initially just collect as much possible footage as they can, and they're asking every question they can think of the characters, of the people in this documentary. And then, but to Jamie's point, like, eventually they probably kept bringing up questions more about Carol's personal life, and you had to think that she would kind of maybe raise a red flag about that and be like, hey, why? Like, I thought that this was supposed to be more focused on the animal rights and the abuse of animals, so why are we asking these questions? And then somehow or other they got it out of her, and they just they went more with that story in the end.
I mean, you have to, right?
On the same token, though, if you're like trusting this camera crew to portray a story that is advocating for animal rights, you might be a little bit more loose in that you don't think are really relevant talking about these things, but I think that's also just her personality.
Besides Carol, did we feel like that there were any other people who were more focused on a different light, or if there was any more kind of like slanting or bias towards anybody else? Any thoughts on that? And if not, we can switch topics.
I would say
there were no heroes.
But I will say this, if on the token of Carol not knowing necessarily how this documentary was going to play out, all press, good or bad, is helpful for her business. It gets her name out there. I didn't know who she was until a week ago, and now I follow Big Cat Rescue on Instagram because it's interesting to me. I also follow, I don't remember his name, the guy who has all the rhinestone pants. I follow his zoo to see if it actually falls off. What's his name? Jeff Lowe. So good or bad, your name's out there.
Oh my God, you can hire Jeff Lowe to you can pay him to make a cameo video for you. So you got any special people that you want a birthday wish for? Maybe that's a route to go.
Is it? And this is through like the Cameo app.
Yes.
He's doing this on there.
Him and Lauren. Yeah.
Well, okay. You know what? That might segue into our next topic here. And Chad, if you have any other questions, I know some of you had some. Let's see. Scrolling through again. Okay. Okay. Actually, Larry's got a question here that I really like. Very quickly, panel. After all of this, who do you think will get the spinoff? I would say maybe Doc.
I mean, it's going to be the murder trial for Carol Baskins.
Yeah.
There didn't seem to be any evidence.
Carol Baskins?
I mean, did you even watch the documentary? God.
I feel like there's a lot going on at Doc Antle's place, and we're going to get into that here in just a second with our next topic. But
good.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah,
don't you think?
Just because I feel like there's more to his story than anyone else's, where there could be an actual investigation done to find actual crime or whatever. I mean, the difference between Joe Exotic and Doc Antle, while I think Doc Antle's property is better, I value the way that Joe Exotic ran his cult more, even though it was bad and it was a cult, because at least it wasn't. He was taking people who needed an employment opportunity. Granted, he was screwing them over left and right, but Doc Antle was targeting young women and bringing them into a weird sex ring thing. And so if anybody should be vilified the most out of it, I would think it's him.
Yeah, he definitely does not come across.
I mean, towards the end of the...
Yeah, go ahead, Brandon.
Like towards the end of the show, I mean, he even starts getting defensive with the documentary crew.
Yep.
Like, as it keeps going, he suddenly is like, no, I'm not going to comment on that. I'm not going to do any of that. He knows that they're going to come for him, and he's not going to let them because he's got all those women he's got changing their names.
Yeah. You know what? I think that's going to take us to our next topic panel, of course. I tried to think of a witty way to put this, like toxic relationships or unethical polyamory, because and I don't want to put any judgment on the format of people's relationships, but it seems like, I don't know, people are doing relationships wrong. You know what I mean? And let's start with Doc Antle. We just talked about him. He's got it seems like, based on the docuseries, multiple girlfriends. It's basically like my brother mentioned earlier, it does seem very much like a harem. Is anyone?
It's the worst internship program ever.
That's true. We heard from the one survivor who I believe started as an intern.
Yeah.
Is that right?
She did.
Yeah.
She went all the way to the breast implant level of the company.
She forgot about her breast implants, right?
She just left them there.
I don't know. Anyways,
walked away. Some tiger ate them.
And I believe, what did she say that they had to call? What was the term that they had to call Doc Antle? It translated to Lord.
Bhagavan.
Yeah, which is I guess supposed to be his real name, right?
Yeah, his name is
legal
Bhagavan Antle.
Oh my God.
Bhagavan Doc Antle.
Well, I want to see that Ancestry.com result.
Well, everyone who's involved with big cats, it seems, struggles with having with their partners.
The phrase "involved with big cats" is ridiculous.
I don't. Let's shift gears. Let's talk about Joe. We've talked very little about Joe so far. He was married to John, and then also married Travis, but that was more of a ceremonial type thing. Would that be right? Because this is Oklahoma and this is the U.S. and I don't know I don't think you could be married to multiple people.
I don't know either. I asked that question in the chat, I think to some of you, and the response I got was from Brandon Durkees, and he said, "Do you think any of these people care about whether or not they're legally married?"
All right. Polygamy is technically illegal all across the U.S., I believe. Either that or Utah would have a kind of a different situation happening.
Yeah, and and something very similar was going on with Jeff as well, because I remember they introduced it was Lauren as his wife, but he was already married, and his wife was angry because he was flaunting Lauren everywhere, and then Lauren was pregnant, and they were going to have a child. I was a little unclear about that whole situation.
Well, Jeff was
Tiger
just
owners.
the fucking worst.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there were a lot of terrible people in this. He's definitely up there.
Exclusively terrible people in this.
Bringing tigers into the hotel in the suitcase.
Oh man, the whole cub petting thing.
Come play with my tiger, and
yeah, boy, Jeff's style is something.
I love it.
I love it too. I mean, the whole cub petting thing, like I kind of get it, just because they are so freaking cute. It's hard to like if it would be, it's an instinctual thing. It's like you want to pet it, but
Right.
you know, I think the whole thing about tigers, like in the US in these terrible situations, we can all agree is just like it's not a good idea. It's awful, and that will be maybe another topic. But anyone else want to chime in about relationships? Maybe
we're going to talk about the merits of zoos.
Well, we do have a special.
We do have a zoologist.
We do.
That's very true. I think we'll probably get to that. Any other thoughts about these people and their romantic?
I did see one post on Facebook that was very interesting. Like, one, I think, very negative thing is there's going to be a lot of ignorant people that watch this and think that the relationship that is depicted between Joe Exotic and his two husbands is like normal for polyamory. And that kind of upsets me because, you know, those kinds of people think the way that they do, and whether or not you agree with it, there can be, I think, healthy polyamory relationships in the world. You know, there's healthy and unhealthy relationships. That's just the nature of a relationship in general, whether it's romantic or not. So that kind of, you know, sucks, but I mean, it makes for good television.
Yeah.
The same can be said for animal
it
role
does.
playing, right? Animal, like you got Howard and Carol, and they had that photo that they kept focusing on of Howard on a leash at the beach. I think maybe during their honeymoon or their wedding.
Oh, right.
Healthy animal role play, and yeah.
I almost think that that's a generalization you can make about most of the themes of this show, right? Is like they portray things in a way that you don't. Yeah. Like the cultures, the relationships, the situation, the captive animal stuff, like all of it is portrayed in a way that potentially does damage to the healthy versions of those things.
Yeah.
Well,
you're right.
even with the two husbands, they acted like they were straight guys who were just being gay for this relationship and totally ignored the fact that maybe they're bisexual. Like that wasn't even brought up. And it, like, because I felt like they made it seem like they were kind of duping Joe into loving them in that situation, or maybe Joe just tricked them. And I feel like there's more to it than that.
Right.
Yeah.
So speaking of Joe, and you know, what are our thoughts? And by the way, people in the chat, very much, they keep mentioning Golden Nuggets, Travis.
Golden Nugget.
Which that's a moment I was planning on bringing up later. But
Why wait?
But speaking of Travis, you know, his story is very sad with his, you know, his passing. But what are our thoughts of the fact that not only did Joe get into a relationship soon after that, but in fact married somebody, another like something with a lot of age disparity, with Dylan, right? Dylan Passage, and took his name. What are our thoughts on that?
He's got a type, man.
Yeah.
It seems like the healthiest of any of the relationships that he's had.
Joe and Dylan. Is that what you're saying, Jamie?
Yeah, because I mean, like this guy's calling him on the phone from prison. Like when he talked about him, it was like he's a very affectionate man. Like you could see genuine love for Joe there, and he doesn't need Joe. Joe's not like financially supporting him and bringing him in from rock bottom. He doesn't have a drug habit that Joe is feeding in order to keep him in the relationship. It seems like the healthiest actual relationship, even though Joe's in prison now.
I don't know. Howard and Carol seem to be pretty solid.
Yeah, when he sang to her at the end,
That was so cringy. That was so cringy.
yeah,
When he was just
You didn't care for
belting out the song. He's
that
not a
was
bad
the
singer.
moment.
Well, there were plenty of other cringy moments, but we'll get into some of these moments.
I'm not sure that any of these people have a lack of communication, I guess, is what I want to say here. Like, none to me, like the Joe Dylan Travis situation, like Joe doesn't strike me, nor do most of the people in the show, as someone who would not communicate pretty openly about what they want, what they're interested in, and probably from an early on like place, right? So you'd have to think that Travis wouldn't be totally, I guess, ignorant about the potential for where things are and where things are going with Joe.
Yeah. I'd like to see this whole cast do a season of Temptation Island.
You bring it up reality shows, and this definitely, I mean, of course, who's the guy? Rick was the reality TV show producer. I don't have his last name here. I felt so bad for him. The fact that they filmed everything, this was going to be gold. He was shopping it around, the footage, and then so apparently Joe or somebody burns the studio down. Oh, and kills these alligators.
Joe set it to fire.
Yeah, Joe set the fire.
Killed them gators.
100%.
Joe totally set the fire. I feel bad for him because he's like a reality show producer, and he was very open through the entire thing that, hey, I'm exploiting the shit out of this guy. Like, look how crazy this person is in his tiger cage.
Yeah.
He was great. I was sad we lost him halfway through.
Yeah, we don't get it back till like the very end. He was definitely, I think, my favorite person they cut away to.
Me too.
Yeah. I don't know. So Roman in the chat here says Michael Jackson Gators. I don't know what that means. Is that a super inappropriate thing that I shouldn't even mention? I'm just confused. Anyway,
I have no clue.
Larry's back in. I'd love to see this cast to go in Family Feud.
That's it. I agree. I would like to see them in the entire cast in like Great British Bake Off, in just a situation that is completely innocuous and being have to be so kind to each other.
Yeah, Alex, I'll take potent potables for 500.
I would like to see the guys from Queer Eye come in and like make over these people.
Wow.
And really try to connect with them on like an emotional level.
Because it would be so genuine
themselves.
Yeah,
I want to see him on RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh,
I think Joe would kill it.
But they would be required. There's no cat prints are allowed.
Roman clarified here. Supposedly they were Michael Jackson's Gators that were killed.
Oh, really?
So thank you, Roman, for that. Sorry about that.
Michael Jackson owned alligators?
What was that, Jimmy?
Michael Jackson owned alligators?
You saw Michael Jackson.
He owned an entire small zoo.
I didn't know there was a zoo in the amusement park. I just thought.
Well, I have a theory then.
Okay.
I think Joe wanted to do a duet with Michael, who turned him down, and he said, "Well, I'm killing your gators then."
Okay.
And there was a twofer for the studios. So.
You know what, Jamie? That brings up a great point. I'm bringing up a new banner here. Can we talk just for a couple of moments about Joe's music?
Oh.
I did the same thing.
I want to hear from Paige.
Yeah, let's hear from Paige.
You know, the music video with the Carol lookalike was
Here, kitty, kitty.
Yeah, here, kitty, kitty. There it is. I mean, it was beautiful. It was first of all, he was like a cowboy priest. She looked like it was eerie how much she looked like Carol. And I mean, I thought that the sort of planter head with the meat coming out of it was just a really nice touch. Well done.
Yeah, it was the music. There were several times during this that I was like, "This can't be real."
Well, you know it's not.
Yeah. What? Speak more on that, Jamie.
Well, I saw an article that said that like
That's not him.
some of his vocals were him, but they were kind of auto-tuned and put over this band that he hired to come in, and he gave them the subjects of the songs, and they wrote the songs, and they didn't realize he was going to release them and promote them as completely his own. But most of the vocals are some other dude singing, and all of the music is this other kind of alternative country band.
Okay, because it seemed like too good for Joe. Just knowing his voice. It doesn't seem like he'd really. I bet he'd be really fun at karaoke, but just
you got a glimpse of his karaoke samplings at the funeral.
At the funeral,
yeah.
Okay, that's gonna take us to you know what? We're here. Hold on. We're gonna go with oh wait, no. I'm sorry.
Spoiler.
I would classify that as a jaw-dropping moment, and Paige, that was exactly the moment for me. I think that's the one. I was just so speechless. The fact that Joe would have the audacity,
the balls, you mean?
The golden nuggets.
The golden nuggets to
The balls
sing at his husband's funeral.
Oh my God.
And it is the song about his zoo. And then we also see an interview, him promoting his gubernatorial race using Travis's memory. And that was like I think that was the moment I lost basically any sympathy I had left for Joe. Thoughts? Or other jaw-dropping moments that you want to talk about from the show, the documentary.
I mean, the suicide.
JDMs.
Yeah, that was dark.
Watching the dude react to seeing a dude blow his brains out, I wasn't ready for that. I kind of wish I hadn't experienced that moment.
Yeah, it kind of comes at you, and it's that was really tough to watch. And chat for the people watching, if you have any other moments that you want us to talk about, go ahead and submit them, please.
I think when Saf's arm was bitten off, and
Yeah.
turned,
Oh my God.
like so quickly to the zoo, I was like, "What the? Oh my God!"
Was that jaw dropping for you, Paige? There wasn't a part of you that was like, "Oh, there it is!" Like I was waiting for this to happen. Like you're expecting almost a moment like this to happen at some point in the documentary.
I mean, I guess I wasn't. I don't know if I wasn't just expecting someone's arm to get ripped off.
Yeah,
The
I don't
gift
know.
shop. After it happened, Joe in the gift shop, that's what was jaw-dropping.
Agreed.
Very calmly, yeah.
Yeah, Joe. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jamie. Jamie, remind me of that moment.
Just
he
running
just comes
his
in, he's like,
business, y'all.
There's like all these customers in the gift shop, and Joe walks in and he goes, "I'm not going to lie to you. A tiger just bit someone's arm off, just tore it clean off, blood everywhere, spurting in my face. Anyhow, I will refund your money."
Yeah, if you want a
Paraphrase
refund,
a
or
bit.
you can come back another time, or
Yeah,
credit. We can give you store
Yeah.
credit.
He gives him the option so he gets to keep the money.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a free condom.
Yeah.
What was jaw-dropping for me was how quickly he came back to the zoo and just like began working again, resumed working. That was the jaw-dropping portion of that, I guess. To clarify.
Is that after Saf's incident or after Travis, Paige?
Saf.
Yeah.
But now that you mention it, also Travis. But I guess he lives on the zoo. He's got to work at the zoo.
Yeah. Any other jaw-dropping moments that you all can recollect?
Similarly, for me, I was just gonna say when they do the helicopter ride after they go and visit Big Cat Rescue, and he talks about like they could just like drop grenades or bombs or something like that, and I'm thinking like this is a guy who up until this point, the big main redeeming thing about him has been supposedly how much he cares for these cats, right?
Right.
And the idea of just like this is how much he hates this other human that he would just blow the place up, including killing the cats that are there, was for me just like I don't know what I'm watching anymore and who these people are.
Terrible is what they are.
Yeah.
Sardine oil from Carol was my JDM.
Oh yeah.
Shady.
Like when it's a JDM. Can we get a graphic? Can we get a graphic, Foster?
You want me to change? You want me to change the banner so it says JDM? Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah. Then like a big explosion. JDM.
No. What needs to happen is Brandon's mouth needs to open like a nutcracker when he's explaining this.
I don't think.
And
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
No,
Brandon,
but like
Yeah.
when he's shooting that video and the cats start attacking him, and he starts, somebody put something on my shoes, and they go to Carol, and she's like, well, you'd have to put something like sardine oil. It's like, no, what? Who just has that off the cuff right there as something that would attract a tiger to a person?
Right.
Sardine
Oh,
oil,
she
or
did
as
it,
I
man.
told my husband,
She did it.
sunscreen.
You'd have to put something like this. Oh, the sardine oil that I have in my pocket.
Any other jaw-dropping moments, guys? And then and also chat. I feel weird saying that, but the folks watching, feel free to chime in. I know a lot of you have had comments. Some of them are very inspiring, and some of them I have chosen to ignore. But I do love you all. Yeah. Any other jaw-dropping moments, guys? Any and panel? Did you have any topics that you? And I've got plenty of topics, by the way. We're still going strong here. Any other thoughts, things that are on your mind right now about Tiger King? Cool. Okay.
This is about you. You're doing a great job moderating. I just want to say I'm really impressed.
Well, I feel like I'm probably overdoing it a little bit. But thank you so much. And folks watching, this is my first time live streaming, so thank you for having patience with me. And by the way, we're using StreamYard, which is something I discovered this week, and it is really cool. So,
are you plugging StreamYard? Are they paying you for that?
I am. I connected with the co-founders on LinkedIn. Oh no, they're not paying me. No,
Wow.
They should though. Let's see, guys. What do we got here? We talked about the relationships and how kind of effed up they are. And now this is kind of similar to the jaw-dropping moments. I want to know the moments that broke you. And I'll give you an example. Towards the end, this is towards the end as the trial is nearing its end. Let me see. Let me pull up the guy here. This would be, oh boy, what is he? Eric Cowie. Is it Cowie? Do I have that right? This was the long hair manager at GW with the glasses.
Oh yeah, that's Eric Cowie.
Yeah,
with no legs.
And what's that? No, this is
no, that's John Rainey.
Yeah, that's John. John has the prosthetics. But Eric, this is when he's the documentary crew is apparently like in his like bedroom or his hotel room, and it seems like Eric is drunk and he's talking about the tigers, and that broke me a little bit.
He collapses back on the bed.
He collapses back on the bed, and I think I teared up when he talked about Cuddles. He said, "Yeah, Joe," and I knew that Joe had shot Cuddles.
Yeah, he felt like he failed these tigers by not protecting them, and he felt like he was an unvindicated soul that had just failed and was worthless, and it broke your heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
That line where he talked about looking the tigers in the eye, like being the one, who they would look in the eye when they died, that crushed me.
The eye of the tiger.
Thank you, JB.
I'm just here to help.
Very quickly, we got another comment from Larry, and then we'll get back to these moments that broke you. Larry, we could talk about it now, or we definitely need to talk about this accusation about Doc Antle euthanizing the kittens after their useful age.
He does that to them and the interns.
Yes, absolutely. Jamie, you got there before I did. That Doc he's just like using kittens and using these poor young women. What do we think about, and did this accusation come from Carol? I don't quite remember.
I think the first time we heard about it was from the girl who we regularly heard from. I can't remember her name, her real name, or her stage name, but the one whose room we kept going to hear about what life was like as an intern with Doc. Yeah. She was the first one to kind of allude to it, and then I think Carol also said some things about it, and they showed some shaky close-up footage of going through the woods and forests, and someone saying they just heard a gunshot in the back, and these tigers would just be gone. The cats would just have disappeared. That's
right. It
was a starting pistol so that they would run away to freedom.
Yes. Hiya! Giddy up.
Do we feel like that's a possibility or a probability with Doc Antle?
Yeah, 100%. That guy.
That he killed him? Yeah.
Totally.
Every one of them kills him in some way.
When
True.
we talked about earlier that he got really defensive with the documentary crew, he strikes me as the kind of guy that is like all fine and chill until it strikes, and then his crazy eyes come out, and he'll just kill you, like with his bare hands. That's what he looks like to me, like straight up 100% Lifetime movie serial killer murder man.
Yeah, more than anybody in the documentary, Doc Antle is a sociopath.
Yes,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, look at
I
that
would agree
fucking
with
flavor saver on his chin. Of course he is.
Mhm.
I just took a drink, Brandon.
Other moments that that broke you, maybe these were like emotionally heavy moments. Of course, we talked about, Travis and that horrible footage.
Jesus.
What about the blow up doll? Firing on that blow up doll of Carol.
Yeah. That was a moment that broke you?
No, it didn't break me, but it broke that blow up doll.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, that was all messed up. The lengths he went to with this seething hatred. It seems like and we're definitely going to get it. And for the people who are waiting, we're definitely going to talk about Joe and the trial. But it seems like if he was going to do something about her, it was like the motivation was absolutely there and was always at like 100%. So it's crazy that it didn't happen earlier, honestly.
I think he was surrounded by yes men that let his because everybody gets mad at people and we have these like angry thoughts that we would never act on. Like, oh, my boss is such a dick. I wish he'd just get hit by a car, but he was surrounded by these people that they're depending on him. And I think they were just going, yeah, that's an absolute right thing. Yeah, I wish she was dead. And so he becomes like insulated and just goes farther and farther. Buddy is going, hey, man, maybe you need to calm down. So I think it's like if a bunch of friends said, you're an amazing dancer, even though you're not. And so you get real confident. And then you go out to the club and then you realize, oh, I am not an amazing dancer.
It's definitely, we get these glimpses of these cult formations, this cult way of thinking at all of these places. I even think at Big Cat Rescue, there seems to be something there, not to the extent of Doc Antle's sex cult and Joe's meth cult, but
you worked 5 years for free to get a green T-shirt.
Yeah, when they were talking about that, like because there were people who were getting paid at Big Cat Rescue, that was kind of depressing as well to hear about that. So yeah, there is this weird cult mentality going on with these surrounding these big cats.
I think it's kind of like generally true of organizations that are like that, right? Where you're set up to only have people who like deeply care about the, I'm going to use this term very lightly, mission of the organization. Like it's a value-based thing. You're not there for the money. You're certainly not there for maybe your skill set, right? You're there because of like you just care about what they do. And that's going to lead to yes men. It's going to lead to people who are there and putting up with a lot for just being able to like be in the vicinity of an organization where they get to do what they care about so much.
Danielle says, thank you, David, by the way. Danielle says, Jamie, really good dancing analogy, Jamie.
Yeah, those are equivalencies, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, really spot
dancing
on.
and murder thoughts.
Thank you.
Great. Before we switch topics or get inspired by the chat here, any other moments that broke you that you can remember that stood out to you? We're definitely going to be. I will give you a little hint. We are going to be talking about Carol and the missing husband, and we'll talk a little bit about the trial too. But I want to get some more moments about that broke you.
I had one that broke me in a good way.
Yeah.
And it was a meme on Facebook, and I laughed for about 20 minutes straight. It said, everybody coming out of quarantine is going to be like, and then it was Joe Exotic and one of his political ads, and it was like, I'm broke as shit. I'm not wearing a suit. I've had some sex. I have tried drugs. And I don't know why, but my windows were open and I was outside, and Larry could hear me laughing, and I laughed for like 20 minutes.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't mean to feature myself.
Did you banish Jimmy?
No, I did not. I did not.
My story wasn't good enough.
Sorry, Jimmy. Sorry. Guys,
And moving on.
Danielle, I see your question. We're going to get to that in just a second because that is a fantastic question. In regards to Big Cat Rescue, William Foster, they were told they were volunteers. Larry follows up with that. Volunteer for 10 years and maybe I'll learn your name.
Yeah, that was Carol's line, right? Where she talks
Yeah.
about all the different shirts they go through, and she goes, "And I didn't know these people's names until they're here forever." And then I'm finally like, "I've seen you around a lot."
Danielle,
Similar to Scientology.
Danielle, we are going to get to your question in just a second. Thank you, and thanks for everybody who's watching. And panel, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. I want to talk about Carol for just a second. Not necessarily her husband, but what did we feel about Big Cat Rescue and their operation? I know it was a talking point of, I think, Joe and maybe even Doc Antle and some of these other weird men who talked about the conditions at Big Cat. It seemed like the conditions were not great at Big Cat Rescue. Am I wrong in that? That it could, like, as a preservation, it could have been in better condition, or do we not have enough information on that?
I felt like the cats were worse off there than they were at any of the places. Well, other than getting shot by Joe.
And Jamie, you morphed into Mother Teresa. Is that what's happening here?
I'm just trying to find my true self, and I'm trying things.
And I am so sorry. I didn't mean to step on your toes. That continue that journey. David, would you mind maybe talking about that for a second if you feel comfortable? Because you do have a zoo background about the what Big Cat
Sure,
had
yeah.
going on.
I mean, it's like the conditions of the cats.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. So it looks pretty bad. I mean, it looks just as bad, if not worse, than Joe Exotics and GW. But like, I don't know. It's hard for any kind of place like that to make money, right? And of course, it could always be better. There's probably a lot we don't know. That being said, it still was like, it didn't even sit right with me, even knowing what is possible in terms of what they set up for these cats that were being rescued, right? You know, if it's a rescue place, then theoretically there's a lot of work you're going to be and should be doing with getting these cats into a safe environment and a place where they, like, stress is reduced and they're starting to feel a lot more comfortable, and you want to watch, like, eating normally and just like going to the bathroom normally and stuff. And so this was not a place that would allow you to do any of that. So how is it a rescue if you're just kind of moving them from one facility to basically the exact same thing in just another place? I don't know.
Yeah, I was a little. Thanks, David. I was a little confused of what Carol, and I want to say I'm not like trying to pick sides or anything. I think Carol was definitely the best out of all these people. I know she wasn't doing the cub petting. What else was she doing? And she was targeting these places that were notably terrible, and rightly so. I was confused about what else Big Cat was doing to help tigers and big cats. Any other thoughts or chiming in? Anyone?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
back to David.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's good that they it's good that they like don't have the sort of exploitation side that the other places did. Yeah. But you still have to wonder ultimately, like, they're putting out a message about what this organization is and what it does. And it does, I think what you said, Foster, right? It doesn't seem like Big Cat Rescue had any clear mission or motive that showed like, hey, we're here to help this wildlife. It was just, we don't want these other worse places to have it. But it wasn't like, here's what we want to do. Yeah.
And of course, and like I said at the beginning of the stream, we don't have all the facts. We're going off the docuseries and some of the articles that we've read. And I'm sure that there's definitely more information out there. On this, Danielle had this great question. Did this documentary make you care more about what happens to the cats? And should it have? I think that's a great question because it did focus more on, at least in my opinion, more on the human drama, right, which of course is inherently more interesting. I love the point that this would be Joshua Dial, the campaign manager at the very end said, and I'm glad that and Danielle, I will say I'm glad that they ended on this point, was when he was saying that there was all this litigation, hundreds of thousands of dollars, that all these profits these places are making when they could actually be focusing on the tigers in the wild and actually preserving them and taking care of them. And I thought that was a really good point that he made there towards the end.
Yeah. Did any of you guys realize that there are more tigers in captivity than there are in the wild?
I did not until I
know that
watched
either.
this.
Yeah, I didn't know until I watched this either.
Yeah, I mean, it's largely the problem of places like this, of private zoos and I hesitate to even call them zoos, but private captive sites and places like this that are like breeding these things. So they talk so much about breeding, right? Joe Exotic's place does breeding. Doc Antle's place did breeding. Carol Baskin maybe did breeding. But that's like a major point in holding wild animals captive, is whether or not you should be breeding, how you're breeding, and what's the point of it, right? So there, and I mentioned this to those of us who like watched some of it earlier when we were chatting about it, is there's like two big, huge arms to branches to conservation. One is you have to actually stop the problem that's going on in the wild. And the other is, yes, you have to like help bring the numbers back up if they've been decimated. So you're doing that. You're helping to breed these animals, but if there's no scheme or plan to it, and you just think you're breeding animals so there's more tigers, so that's better for the world, then that's like completely the wrong perspective to take on it. If you're contributing to helping to stop the problem in the wild, great. If you're doing the breeding side, you have to like have a plan and do it right. And there are huge committees and processes set up in the US for how that happens in zoos and places, like legit places in the US and around the world, actually, in a lot of places around the world, as to how these animals get bred, if they get bred.
I was baffled by the fact that a private zoo can be a thing. Like, that truly surprised me.
Same, Jimmy.
Like, the idea that, I mean, I guess I knew that celebrities owned like these big animals, right? Like rich people do, but I figured that would be a government controlled thing.
Yeah, so in the U.S., and I mentioned this to you guys before too, it's the United States Department of Agriculture sets the federal law on holding exotic animals in the U.S. And then within that, there's rules that like states can have and rules that cities can have in terms of how close an exotic animal, certain exotic animals, can be within city limits. Kansas City, for example, where all of us are, is like you can't have extremely exotic animals like chimpanzees or most primates, most big cats within city limits. But outside of city limits is a whole nother story. And then USDA comes in and says, if you're going to have exotic animals, what are the rules for holding them? And those rules are, excuse my language, shit. Like they're just minimal, bare requirements that are really, really terrible. Wow. And so for zoos, they have other organizations that step in and say, here's what we recommend. Here's much more humane, realistic expectations. And here's what we say you guys should do. But they're not the federal government. They don't have any kind of enforcing authority.
So if Friends had taken place in Oklahoma or Florida, Ross could have kept Marcel.
Yeah, and we would have had a much different ending to Friends after 9 more years.
Someone would have died.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't. And Danielle, you just have the great comments and questions. I'm sorry to make it the Danielle show, but she does say she appreciates us addressing the serious stuff, but we got to talk about Jeff Lowe's rhinestone jeans and all of the fashion. Who was making the strongest fashion choices? What fashion was? I mean, Carol.
Carol.
Carol. Paige, can you show us a little bit of what you're rocking, if you don't mind?
Okay, yeah. All right. I have this print, this sweater, but then I also have these velvet.
Yes.
Holy crap. You've been saving the best for last. That's wild.
Yeah, baby.
Sorry, Larry and Roman are talking about the EMT jackets.
Oh,
what was that?
It was the one Joe wore when Sap's arm got ripped off. It was like
I didn't even notice that.
You didn't
notice that? Let me ride in the back.
My God, I want to figure out a way to get a picture of it. It's so good.
Who was wearing the EMT jacket?
Joe Exotic, right after the arm ripped off. It was like, if you've seen Shameless, it was essentially like the jacket that Frank Gallagher always wears, right? That kind of like jean material with the fur coming out of the outside, and it had a big EMT logo on the back of it. Like he had that in case of emergency, in case
he has costumes.
I got to change.
He's ready.
Like, those shirts that say FBI and then on the bottom it says full-blooded Italian? Like EMT, extramarital time.
Oh wow.
He had amazing fashion choices, but the interior of his home was disgusting.
Oh yeah. The whole GW Zoo was just
Ferocious.
rough.
Couch on brown carpet on brown wall.
That was your jaw-dropping
Brown
moment,
is the
huh?
cheapest color, though. So
What about that gold shirt he wore when he served Thanksgiving right after Travis
love that.
died?
Oh, was that right after Travis?
Oh, yeah, because he cried in that gold shirt.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Not a
Joe's definitely
crying
got some great fashion choices. And I mean, it's just like it's part of the reason why of course you would want to make a reality TV show and do a docuseries about this guy.
I know this is probably a really stupid question, but there's not like any way Joe actually is an EMT, right? Like licensed.
He was almost governor.
no,
I don't know.
Absolutely.
he's a
not.
magician.
Can you just get elected EMT?
He looked like a good magician too.
Oh my god.
Down
Okay.
EMT.
Hold on. When we watched this on Netflix Party this episode when they talked about the magician and the fact that he was like this 12-year-old kid was teaching him magic. How amazing was that? How incredible was that?
I
He
loved
just got
it.
the 3 rings and he's like, now they're together. Not.
All right. Roman wants us to remember his choker though. I think this is Joe's choker, right? The fashion choices. My brother's chiming in. Will, we already talked a little bit about Joe's music career earlier. The fact that he basically wasn't really doing the vocals on that track or the music. Is that right, Jamie?
Yeah. I would love to see Joe cover It's So Hard to Say
Still
Goodbye.
bangers.
Still bangers.
Yep.
And the fact, do you remember that
Slaps.
that there was like that interview moment with Joe where he was driving and it seemed like all he listened to was exclusively his music. Was I right?
Karaoke to his own songs.
Yes, he
Yeah.
was. All right. Hold on. Before we move on to any more serious stuff, Larry said the locks hanging on the wall. For what's a Prince Albert? I feel stupid, but what's a Prince Albert?
It's a penis piercing.
I thought that's what it
you got
was. Okay. I thought that's what it
He
was.
put the
Okay.
padlock on his penis.
It's
I mean,
at
that's
the
a
end,
thick. That's a thick
Lock
gauge.
it up. I'm sorry, Jamie. What'd you say?
That's a thick gauge. You know,
gauge.
a padlock out there. Big
Tiffany,
hole.
Some weight to it.
Tiffany says he was the sheriff. Is that I don't know if that's a reference to fashion or to something else we discussed. Gosh, we got a lot of comments now. We're not going to be able to feature them all just because we are running at a time. My sister-in-law sorry, Roman. My sister-in-law jumped in. Apparently, he was actually a licensed EMT. Apparently,
Oh.
No way.
No way. That's
so
Did you know
It is.
he used to like do independent wrestling shows?
I mean, you
and he
got
would like be a commentator.
That's more believable.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
he
that's totally believable.
all right. I'm just gonna. Okay.
I mean, is he like an actual EMT, or is it like when you teach children and you have to learn CPR?
Yeah, I mean, EMT is a license that you have to earn, and it is not an easy process to go
Yeah,
through. Like
yeah.
it is rigorous.
No,
I mean, in
it's
Oklahoma.
a degree.
Tiffany's clarifying for us, sheriff of Eastville, Texas. It's a little known fact. So thank you so much for those facts. Jessica says hi to Jimmy's cats. I don't know. We haven't even talked about your cats there in the background.
Now you need to give your cat a nice touch.
That's Yin. And this is Leo. And Yang is somewhere.
Oh, you
Hold
got
on.
3 cats.
Yes, my assistant is grabbing them for me. And that's
Your
Yang. He just ran away.
your young hot assistant,
Yes, my young hot assistant.
your intern.
What'd you make them change their name to?
Again, Tiffany, thank you so much. Just clarified Eastvale, Texas.
Wait, Joe was the sheriff? Is that what we were saying?
I think yeah. Was it that Joe was the sheriff, Tiffany? Sorry, you're very well. You're knowledgeable, and we are not.
Because that's fascinating. And why did the
Are we-
documentary not include that?
Yeah, how would we miss that? Like, how would you not want to include that part?
I know this is kind of a screw around right now, but I'm enjoying it. My brother was saying the tourniquet was impressive. When you had the incident with Saf.
Oh yeah. How about that reveal? The whole episode 1, you're seeing interviews with Sav, and you have no idea that there was even an incident. And then the beginning of episode 2, just boom. Wow.
They do that wider shot, yeah, and you see that. That was really good. I would say points to just the overall storytelling of this. Like the fact of taking all this footage and putting it into these specific types of episodes. I thought it was really, really well done. Whether you like the portrayals or not, I think from a purely entertainment and engaging standpoint, it was absolutely incredible.
I'm impressed that they pulled something off. And by that, I mean, like, that they went into this filming it, getting this information, getting this, like, the footage and like the words from everybody speaking. And they're like, oh, cool. Okay, so we're going to tell this story. And then they find out more and they're like, wait, okay, I guess we're telling this and this story. Oh, wait, now we're telling this and this. And like, they still managed to put something cohesive together that we could see their frustration with having so many crazy people with crazy situations happening to them into one piece of art.
You know what, Paige, you had mentioned, you're absolutely right, David. I don't have his name down. Paige, who'd you mention the guy on the jet ski? Like that
James.
was just kind of thrown in there. Were we led to believe that they stopped the interview and he just immediately goes and gets on the water? Because that looked like Florida.
Sorry. I'm wondering if he was like, I need a shot of me on the jet ski. Or if the producers were like, we need a shot of you on the jet ski. Because there was also that guy, the handyman of Jeff, who had
Alan Glover,
in the bathtub,
the murderer.
Right? In his swim, the hitman.
Allegedly.
He was in his swim trunks getting the bath ready, and then he just sits in the bath for the latter half of this interview. I actually read online that the producers suggested it would be a nice shot because I wanted to know.
Well, they did the same thing with John Finley. John Finley wasn't just like walking around shirtless all the time. They told him, they said, hey, why don't you take your shirt off, show those tattoos, and just be shirtless in all the interviews. And so he looks ridiculous. And I bet they did the same thing. They were like, hey, why don't you get on that jet ski? Let's get some footage of you hot shot.
Absolutely. Larry chimed in.
Yeah, but the thing is, he looked tight on that thing.
Oh,
boy,
yeah.
He was speaking of the characters and the fact that when somebody called him a grown like Chucky doll, I was like,
my God.
Oh no. Larry chimes in. Larry says, since filming Saf has come out as trans man, invisibility is important. So thanks for Larry and shout out to Saf. Hope you're doing well. And Tiffany again with a paragraph here. We're going to close the book on this Eastvale, Texas thing. Before entering the world of live animals, Joe Exotic became police officer straight out of high school in 1982. At age 19, he was promoted to chief of police in the small town of Eastvale, Texas. That's incredible.
What could have been? That was the beginning of the career? Wow.
Yeah.
Was there nobody else? Just nobody in this town.
I guess you retire then. That's why
it's a hard job.
People wait 20 years, and that's the end of the career. He got that before he could legally buy a drink.
That is why he needed to be the king of the tigers.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense if he was a licensed CMT then. I think that probably is part of the training process of chief of police. I cannot believe those words just came out of my mouth.
Danielle says she agrees that she thinks that a lot of the directors did a lot of extra stuff. You could tell they did a lot of extra stuff because, I mean, you just have a lot of the shots of people like, here, I'll do it on here. You know, the people like they do like the dramatic like they do like a dramatics. You know what I mean? People were doing smolders into the lens, you know, and they can just cut away to those, or some of them they even made them look kind of like sinister. So you know, it is a storytelling, and there's so many instances of documentaries doing that where they kind of conveniently forget certain information and then bring that in at the end to make it seem like this beautiful arc, right? Because it is you know, it's a movie, it's a show above anything else.
Yeah. A nice touch that I really
no, go ahead.
Was when Doc Antle was he was trying to produce his own clip, right? He was like, all right, so you're gonna get me, you're gonna come in through the house, and I'm gonna open the door.
Yeah.
Welcome. And so they got him saying that, but also got the entry. I thought that was a nice touch to like show the sort of ego maniac personality of this guy.
Yeah, they followed that up, I think, with the thing on the bed where he's like, we put a couple cats on here. That's sexy, right? He said it's sexy, isn't it?
Oh my God, yeah, that was so great. You know what? And you know, a lot of us have been on sets before. When people are in charge and they like have confidence and they're like, you know, and they're just like cool and comfortable with it, they can talk you into doing stuff. And you're like, and you believe they're like, oh yeah, I guess this is best for the shoot. So yeah, of course I'll do this.
That's how most pornography starts.
Excellent. Before we move on to the big topics here, my panel, thanks again for being here. I'm having a great time with you. Anything that you want to, any moments or things that we want to discuss before we get into, I think, and if I'm leaving something out, please let me know. But I kind of think we're going to talk about Carol's husband here, unless somebody else has something. Okay, David, I don't think you actually finished the show.
Well, that's not important to reveal now.
Listen, that's totally cool. But were you aware of the Carol Baskin, or her missing, the disappearance of her former husband?
Yes.
Okay.
I was aware of that, not even from just hearing about it
Yeah.
after the fact, but also that happened in the first 2 episodes. They talked a little bit about that.
So the husband, older husband, very rich, kind of like a rich redneck type, just up and disappears. Is known to going to Costa Rica, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of the theory, is that he disappeared on the way, but it didn't seem likely that he crashed his plane. I'm a little fuzzy. I haven't brushed up, but what are some of our maybe theories or thoughts about the Carol's missing husband?
Wasn't there something about Carol saying
him.
like he
We'll get
asked
to you,
her,
Brandon.
he asked her to like prep some like 2 boats or something like that, 2 little boats with his stuff, and then that was it. Then she just assumed he was getting ready to leave and then didn't see him or something. That was her claim anyway.
How did she phrase it? She was like, he told me I have to get up early.
Yeah.
And then I got to go. And she said it it was very like verbatim and strange the way that came
Like
out.
She's been rehearsing that story.
Maybe, but
She
you know what? She
probably had to say it over and over again
Yes.
throughout
Yeah.
the years.
She
True.
probably was questioned so many times, and I'd have to imagine that would get exhausting. Brandon,
I know.
you said it. She killed him. You want to follow that up?
Yeah. Sure. Look at that. I mean, obviously, that entire episode is set up to make us think that, clearly. But like his old family, the fact that she broke in to like the office after he had gone missing, took the wills, changed the wills, came back so she could get all that, her diary entries. Oh my God, she's a murderer. She killed the shit out of that guy. She knows that sardine oil is going to get tigers to eat a human.
Mhm.
It definitely did not look good for her. But of course, those facts don't look good. And of course, they threw that kind of at Carol in that episode. To it's drama and it's interesting. Roman chimes in really fast. Those leggings page, here for it.
Love you, Roman.
Any other thoughts on? It doesn't look good. I mean, that restraining order thing of course doesn't look good. What are some of the other
I
facts?
have a thought.
Yeah, Paige. We're gonna
So
cut the page
I
here.
think that when your meet cute is a man has a gun on his passenger side,
We got to talk about that. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I think that does not bode well for the future of that relationship or the future of that man's life.
And their first date was him going, "Here, you hold this gun on me to make sure I don't do anything on you," and that works. And they go to a motel together.
It's crazy.
These people are insane. They're absolutely insane. They should.
Bananas.
It's.
Well, they're in Florida, so I mean,
I'm gonna. Yeah.
I was told by somebody who lived in that area in Florida that specific street that they're referring to is known as like the red light district of that city. That's where prostitutes are at night. So I don't know that there's any truth to it. That's just what I was told by somebody, but that's an interesting theory.
I like it. Any other thoughts? Of course, the theory that, of course, Joe and others are perpetuating is that she fed the body parts to her tigers, and of course we saw a little bit of that going back to the music video, right?
Or he's under the sewage.
Yeah.
Or he's in the septic tank. That's right.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right. Or he's in the septic tank. Yeah. So, all right. Any other thoughts about that,
I don't
David?
think that there's any way to buy the feeding to the tigers thing. Like,
David, can you speak to the acidity of a tiger's stomach?
so I mean, no, but but like,
Well, then I'm muting your mic.
Have you ever been eaten by a tiger?
I haven't.
I'm sorry, David. Go ahead.
But eating a human would be just like eating any other like prey animal, right? Like there's still gonna be bones. Like she's still gotta bury the. But like, what do you think you're doing? It's not like Breaking Bad where you're like dissolving this entire body and it's just gone. Like, it's not really helping you to feed them to a tiger. Like, there's still something left that you have to do something with.
Guys, I completely forgot about this point. My brother brings it. This is a really, that crazy fact of they changed the will to state at time of death or disappearance, for crying out loud. That's right. That's right. At the top of the will, it was in case of disappearance. And what that lawyer guy they interviewed, he was like, I've never seen that. I've been doing this for 30 years. And
I have a theory.
Never seen. Jamie, go.
My theory is that, like, because remember when they were talking about how much money this guy had? They interviewed a bunch of people. One guy's like $7 million. Another guy's like, he's worth like $20 million. So I think he was done with Carol and he struck up a deal and he said, I'm going to disappear. I'm going to leave you several million. We're going to make sure it happens because we're going to change my will to say or disappearance. And then I'm going to get out of here to Costa Rica with the rest of my fortune. You leave me alone. I'll leave you alone. This is the late marriage version of hold a gun on me while I drive around town.
Oh, wow. I like that theory. I like that a lot.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Will. That was just an incredible fact in the case there. It doesn't look good. I honestly, I don't know. I don't know. And what was exactly was the what were they saying that was Carol's motivation? Was it that since he was kind of running around, he was always with like different women? If I seem to remember that correctly,
the money, yeah,
the money, of course, the money.
Kicker.
They said that he was afraid of her toward the end, and he told some people that.
Yeah. Excellent. And wait, and Joe had her diary somehow, right?
How did he have that?
How was he getting that? Does anyone know? Chat, do you know?
They also
Crime?
they also read part of her diary in news clips, like directly after her ex-husband's death or her disappeared husband.
Was it the kind of thing where it becomes like, if it's part of a trial or something like that, it becomes public knowledge? Not public knowledge, but at least knowledge to the court and the prosecutors and the stuff like that. I'm saying a lot of words that I don't know.
Larry says someone anonymously sent it to him. I think that's right. That was
they didn't get their green shirt, so they stole the diary.
Danielle, what were you saying? Why didn't the attorney have a copy of the will? To claim that Carol got into the files, destroyed the old will, and rewrote it. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, I think that was kind of what the storyline there was. Yeah, it's just nuts all over. Roman wants to know about the buried money because they talked about, and I completely forgot her her husband's name, but he talked about how he was this super rich guy and he had a hard time writing because you saw that in that restraining order document. He's just like, everything was misspelled, but apparently buried money everywhere.
They never explained how he got his money, and they never explained how Jeff Lowe got his money.
Jeff Lowe doesn't have money.
Yeah,
well, he did at one point. He said he was a millionaire.
He said it.
If that's all it takes, then I've got some plans.
Jessica says it's also weird that Carol and Don was the name of that husband, right? Yeah. Didn't actually get together until 10 years after they met that night on the street.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
Random but weird, yeah.
So they nurtured a long partnership before their marriage. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, I got to get some things in order before I abandon my family.
Okay, I think we've exhausted that topic. We are nearing the end here. Guys, thank you so much for being a part of this. This has been so much fun. Being a part of this and trying out live streaming. And I hope you're all, mentally well. I hope you were safe. I hope you're feeling healthy. And get out and take a walk, respect that social distancing. It's weird when I go for a jog because it feels like a game of chicken on the sidewalk. And it's kind of fun to figure out who's going to go out into the street to maintain that 6 feet distance. But we got to talk about, is Joe guilty? And of course, we're talking about the charge that he paid. Looking over here, Alan Glover, what was it, $3,000 to travel to Tampa to assassinate Carol Baskin. I believe I've got all of that information correct. We know he's guilty of killing tigers. Like, he admitted as such. I kind of forget what his reasoning. It was just something like, "What, you got to put down animals or something."
Yeah, I think he equated it to like having a sick pet. Like if your animal is just going to suffer, then But also, on that point, I don't follow that logic because I don't shoot my cat if it gets sick and needs to be put down. They're like, put to sleep in a very calming, like, to my knowledge, and David, maybe I'm wrong, you would probably know more about this than I would, but I feel like they would be, it would be a calming drug that would put them to sleep slowly, right?
Yeah, for euthanasia for animals, in normal circumstances, which this is hardly that, they would be put down using drugs. Those drugs are quite protected and generally very expensive. So I'm not surprised that like smaller places, private places, I mean, ranches, farms, places like that are going to do the same thing, right? They're not going to use drugs. Oftentimes they're going to, euthanize animals the old fashioned way, if you will. So that's not that abnormal.
Isn't it like it's a firing squad versus lethal injection? But you shouldn't be able to call that euthanasia because he referred to what he did as euthanizing them. And if it's not the injection, that's not euthanizing, right?
If it's not what? Say that last part again.
If it's not an injection, that's not technically euthanizing, right?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if there's a distinction in the terminology for it. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not a kind way of like gently putting something down. If you're,
he's not giving him a gut shot. That would be worse.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
All right. We've already got some people in the chat kind of casting their votes, so to speak, about Joe. Danielle says not guilty.
I agree.
Roman,
I agree too.
No, he was set up. It does feel that way just based on the track record of Jeff Lowe.
Yeah.
He screws over everybody he comes in contact with. I mean, you just see that solidified at the very end with the guy in the zoo. What is his name? I have it here. It doesn't really matter that much. Tim Stark, the guy who's building the zoo with, who always had a monkey on his front.
I love that monkey.
Yeah,
I kind of like that guy a little bit. Again, not doing ethical things with animals, but he was kind of fun to cut away too. But of course, Roman saying he was set up. Larry, Jeff is guilty. I
think it pissed me off that out of all of these terrible people, only one of them ended up behind bars, because I think Joe Exotic should be behind bars for the mistreatment of animals. But the fact that, Carol Baskin runs her own kind of cult. Doc Antle runs his own kind of cult. Jeff Lowe is attempting to try to run his own kind of cult. There was that, what was it that the girls make on Doc Antle's farm? Was it 100 or 120 a day?
100 a week.
100 a week, right?
Week. And they live in a horse stall.
How is he?
They work 80 to 100 hours a week. So they're basically making $1 an hour and living in a horse stall. But if they get breast implants and be his concubine, then they get a house.
Right.
Yeah.
And Joe Exotic is the only one behind bars right now? I'm sorry. That doesn't sit right with me.
Now, every single one of them are guilty of the same crimes against animals.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there is at least a reasonable doubt about the murder for hire plot. But as far as the crimes against animals, every one of them should be in jail. And that
Agreed.
includes Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. Larry, on that point, was talking about how Joe is right to expose all these other people in the business. I love that. Like as soon as when he was behind bars, he's like, I'm talking to PETA.
Peter's my best friend.
Yeah.
PETA's my best friend now.
It's that quick turnaround.
It was.
Yeah.
It was so Joe. It was classic Joe, I think.
It's like the episode before he's got a mannequin tied to a tree and he's written PETA on it and he's just shooting guns.
Yes. Yes, and blowing stuff up, which I was kind of disturbed that you could legally buy that explosive material. I don't remember the name of it.
I've been underestimating Walmart.
Yeah, they've got explosives and they've got campaign managers.
And
So,
cottage cheese.
For all your shopping.
I mean, a lot of things are explosive in food 'em.
True.
I'm going to hear more from the people in the chat about Joe and whether he's guilty of this murder for hire plot. I mean, Jeff basically came out and told us on a platter that he set Joe up.
Yeah, basically,
You know.
in so many words.
Mhm.
Like OJ's book, If I Had Done It.
Absolutely.
If I did it.
Whatever, That's all, Brandon.
Hey, I'm just
It's
saying
the
people are
audio
going
book.
to leave this and they're going to search for the juice and we got to give them the
Okay,
links. What's you got right now?
Okay, Carol Baskins.
Thank you, Paige.
Are
Jimmy, I
are
got
you equating O.J. Simpson and Carol Baskins?
No, I am making a reference to your earlier slip up of saying her last name in a plural form.
It's called a callback. If you did comedy, you would understand.
It's a button because we're nearing the end here.
That's true. We are nearing the end here.
I hope the listeners enjoy this conversation.
You hope who? Who would you? Okay, never mind. It seems very much like he was set up, and it seems because the vitriol has been there from the start, and it seemed like this was even past the trial, the trademark trial, where Joe was already broke, but then his parents were completely drained dry.
That
This
was bad. That broke my heart.
Oh God.
That was messed up. That like he did that to save himself, but it was such a selfish move because you make your family put themselves at risk, and they lost so much.
Yeah, what was that, like an Indiegogo or GoFundMe? That video that was so like heart wrenching and sad, and
he was just trying to get around the law by putting his zoo in somebody else's name. Every time the debt would come due, he would just put the zoo in someone else's name.
Right.
Yeah. And I feel like that major part where that critical mass of hating Carol, the killing came much later after that, if I'm not mistaken, or the supposed plot came much later. Am I wrong about that? It would seem like if you wanted to take her out, it would be like
It would have been years ago, because the hatred was always there.
Yeah,
it was there from the get-go. So, I don't know, maybe his methed up brain got a little bit more progressively out of touch. But I don't know. I think he was always already unstable enough that if he wanted to kill somebody, he would have killed somebody.
I mean, the firearms were just constantly going off.
Yeah.
At the GW Zoo, it was not a great environment to like have a calm environment for these animals.
No.
The shit's blowing up constantly. People are just driving around on these four-wheelers, just like screaming. It's insane. Jessica says, it seemed he was set up, but his extreme antics, like expressing how he wanted to see Carol's head in a jar, didn't help.
Yeah.
He was basically live streaming every night in a format like this, where he was just talking about how he wanted to kill Carol Baskin, and of course that's and they used that as evidence in jail. I'm sorry,
that was he was just giving them all of the things to set him up, because I think he was just venting his rage. He was like, "This is a safe way. This is like going to the gym and punching a heavy bag. I'm just yelling about how I want Carol dead to a camera." But by doing that, I get to vent and I don't actually go and kill Carol. But in effect, he was just giving ammunition for the setup the whole time.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And it seemed like Jeff was just like kind of poking him and prodding him the entire time. And I love Joe. What was Joe's response to Alan, the handyman, He was like, I wanted to hire some tweaker to kill Carol. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
It was such a great response. And the fact that Joe, he took the damn stand and testified, it's like, mwah.
His lawyer
It's like,
said, "Don't do it."
Yeah.
don't do it.
I'm Joe Exotic. I'm the Tiger King.
Do you
Tiger
understand
King
how many votes I got?
Tiger
At
King
least one jury member voted for me.
Tiger King gonna take the stand. He did get what was it, 22 years in
Yeah.
prison.
And he's like 55, right?
Yeah, he's in his mid late
I don't
50s.
know. I'm gonna Google that real quick.
I feel like, yeah, I think it was at least 55.
And what's ultimately like the official crime that he was charged with for the 22 years?
Animal
There were, like-
cruelty, I think.
It was murder for hire too. There was like, I think they
Multiple.
bundled together like 9 different counts. And he was
Yes,
found guilty on all counts.
and that
Okay.
was part of the narrative, and it felt like even that was that person an FBI agent, I believe,
Yeah.
even admitted as much, that they had to tie in the animal abuse stuff just to kind of help their case a little bit, because the murder for hire was pretty flimsy.
Was
Yeah,
that
that FBI agent? Just she reminded me a lot of Kim Wexler. If you're watching Better Call Saul, just a real serious tone. That has nothing to do with this. I just wanted to share.
If we're talking spinoff, I wanted to give her a spinoff.
Yeah.
She was like this. She was like a
Oh, yeah.
hard nosed DA. It would be a great legal drama.
What about Mario?
Remind me.
He was the Scarface guy who seemed like the most level
Oh yeah.
of all
yeah.
of the Tiger Zoo men.
Yeah, the guy, and he
Um,
was just like, "Yeah, we killed him and buried him on my property, but I love the animals."
I completely forgot about Mario. I
Yeah.
No,
love,
he was very
The
clear that he
former-
had nothing.
Oh, dude, Mafia
He
Zoo?
was very
would be
clear
a
that
great
he had
show.
nothing to do with the murder, but it happened on his land.
He was
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. But I
Uh,
love the way he talks about, because I saw a lot of him, and it just like they go into all this background about his former drug lord past, and then he's there just sitting on a couch leaning back, being like, "They're murdering people over there. Can you like look at these people?" And just like trying to get the camera to just like, no, pan over there. Go look over there. Go look over there.
Nothing in the basement.
Any guys, any final thoughts? We have come to the end of our time. I know we could probably spend an entire week just talking about this, switching out people, and keeping this conversation going, because it is so rich and there's so much there. But any final thoughts? Any chat? Anything we didn't hit that you want us to hit? I know there's probably a lot of things left unturned. Panel, what do you think? Anything that we haven't addressed?
I would
vote
like to
Brandon
know.
off the island.
Okay, hold on a second. We'll go Paige. We'll go Paige, and then we'll go Jamie. What'd you say, Paige?
I said I want to vote Brandon off the island. Is that the point that we're at here?
Oh boy.
I got
That's
cold.
Jamie.
Kidding. All right.
I can just go.
Well, we'll all be
No.
signing off here in a little bit. Jamie, did you have something you want to say?
I wasn't talking. I was just laughing as multiple people talked at once. But if I have a final statement, I just think it's that the world saw a tiger, and the tiger saw the world.
Wow. Very poetic.
Profound.
I am prolific.
Yeah, you watch a silly documentary, you get silly reflections after.
That's right. All right. Here we go. Let's see. Danielle, with a final, let's do kind of like a quick a lightning round here, maybe. Who would play who in the movie version of Joe Exotic? Gosh, who played Tanya? Who played the mom? Channing
Channing Tatum.
Oh, that was no. What's her name from The West Wing?
Yes. What? Chat, help us out here.
Allison Janney.
Allison
Janney,
Janney. There's a role for Allison Janney in this somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but she would be perfect in this world.
She's great. She should be in everything.
I could see her as a Carol Baskin. Dire
wasn't
hair
it
and grow it out.
Though
What was that, Jamie?
That was not me. That was Brandon. I think.
I'm
That was
sorry,
Brandon, yeah.
Brandon. What'd you say? Okay.
Jamie,
I think-
did you have something to say?
Sorry, guys. I would say maybe we just, since we're at the end here, maybe we just focus on some of the main characters. Maybe I honestly think maybe Matthew McConaughey.
I think the question was of us on the panel.
Oh,
It said of the live panel.
Sorry,
yes.
Danielle.
Oh,
I would play probably the Chucky guy. Maybe.
I don't know.
why is that?
I don't know. I'm just.
You
I
just
would
immediately resonated with him.
I would be.
Foster
maybe
loves
Alan,
Jetson.
I would be maybe Alan Glover. If they aged me a little bit, maybe CG age. I could maybe do Alan Glover. What do you? I'll open it up to the panel. I'm sorry, Danielle. I misunderstood your question.
Well, I would play
Jimmy's
Dylan.
Joe Exotic.
Am I Joe Exotic? No.
On this panel, yeah, you're Joe Exotic.
I mean, if someone like I don't know, like
I don't know.
Jimmy said he would be Dylan.
I would think Dylan, but apparently Brandon thinks Joe Exotic, which I'll take it on. I'm fine with that. I ain't changing the way I dress. I refuse to wear a suit.
Yeah, can you give us
It's a request to audition for
Have you had
Joshua
some
Dial.
kinky sex?
I've had some kinky sex. I have tried drugs. That's going to be a soundbite for States on it, by the way. Now,
Yeah.
so you know.
Any other parts we would play? I mean, going back to the Hollywood aspect, I really think Matthew McConaughey, if he slimmed down a bit, I think he would be a killer.
I think Kathy Bates would make a great Carol Baskin.
I would love to play the child that taught Joe magic.
I want to play Don's secretary, his assistant.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Get a pure heart.
The
You
loyal.
Did.
The loyal. Here we go. David could be Joe. Danielle says. Danielle also says. Jamie could be Doc Antle. No offense. I agree with that.
I just want to announce that I've got some internships coming up. JK.
Also, Larry says Jamie is Carol. Danielle
I
agree.
could totally do Carol. I mean, play Carol. Ah,
Danielle completely agrees.
You got a gun?
Paige, tell us a little more about that.
About what?
Nothing. The boy yoing, but
Okay. Is Joe guilty? Oh, the boy yoing. That's the sound
I'm sorry.
of a boner.
Sorry. Get rid of that band.
it's the sound of a boner.
I know.
Brent,
Do you have more banners that you haven't used?
Do I? No.
let's see where Brandon's priorities are at.
No, we hit all of the banners. we hit them all. We hit them all.
JDS.
I hoped you had like a reservoir. JDS.
Do we want to quickly plug things before we sign off here? Again, people watching, thank you so much for participating in this. Now that I've done this and we found how fun it is, I think I want to do more of these things. This has been such a blast. We'll just go. We'll start with Brandon. Brandon, anything you want to plug?
Go to the KC Improv Company's YouTube and Facebook on Friday to see Kicking It with the KC Improv Company. A lot of these people are going to be on it.
Excellent. KC Improv Company doing some digital stuff during these times, during this quarantine. David, do you have anything you want to plug? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm not affiliated with the zoo anymore, but I think I should plug just like decent normal zoos.
Absolutely.
For the sake of it, if you're ever curious or in doubt, AZA, the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, they're the ones who like have a good strong say in what makes a good zoo. So just make sure a place is accredited by AZA, and then there you go. Then you're safe. And there's a whole bunch of them all over the country. So just go check out a good zoo.
Absolutely. And I'm just adding one last banner here. Here we go. Help the animals and help the tigers.
Foster, tigers are animals too.
I know.
Oh, It's me.
Yes, Paige. What would you like to plug?
I wanna echo what Brandon said. Watch Kicking It, the KC Improv Company. Also, I'm a writer. If you have a resume that needs touching up, I can help you with that. Maybe you want to put a house on. You need a really nice description of your home. I can help. Give me a call.
People, by the way, people in the chat they're saying they want more. Roman is wanting us to do more. Larry, vote Larry for episode 2. Larry apparently he really wants to be on the panel.
That's okay. He can stay. He's my assistant. He's my intern.
He's your intern. Jamie.
Yeah, you can check me out on my website, askjeeves.com.
Right.
Wonderful. I bought it.
So I don't know if I'm going to be doing much with this YouTube channel, but you can keep an eye on it and see if we're going to do more. I do a podcast called Audio Obscura, which is a lot of fun. Some of these people may have listened to it, and some of the folks might be on it. So check that out. And again, thanks everybody for.
Do I not get a plug?
What? Oh, Jimmy, I'm so sorry.
Literally always.
The only reason he was on.
That's fine. Wayside Waves, where we adopted that one.
Jimmy, I'm so sorry. We are actually out of time. We've got to sign off. I'm just kidding, buddy. I'm just kidding.
Wow, God, I miss you guys so little. Wayside Waves is really good over here, so plug them. Also, local restaurants that are locally and independently owned are really struggling during COVID-19.
Yes.
So if you can, we're trying to eat out at least once a week, like get carry out, come home, wash your hands, and be as safe as possible. But really help them out. And I also want to specifically plug Green Room Burgers and Beer. They're not open for carry out right now, but you can still buy merchandise on their website to help them. Because man, small business restaurants are really struggling during this. So that's my plug. Thank you. Back to you at the studio, Foster.
Thanks, Jimmy. And sorry for cutting you off there. Again, thanks everybody.
Wait a minute. Foster, you can make your own banners right now. Why weren't you make more?
I was so invested in what was going on, and I wanted to keep an eye on our audience.
This is ending really well.
This is ending. It could not be ending better.
That's great.
I will say. Awesome. That has created some really awkward energy. So I think we're just going to end the broadcast here, and thanks.
Make another banner.
Nope.
Support your artist friends.
Wave. Goodbye. Thanks so much. Take care. Keep being safe and awesome. Goodbye.
Bye.